Good evening and welcome to the Summer Cohort TechArb Showcase. My name is Tom Frank, and on behalf of Stuart Thornhill and myself, we would like to thank you and welcome you for coming this evening. The TechArb program is one of many exciting collaborations between the Zell Lurie Institute for Entrepreneurial Studies and the Center for Entrepreneurship, but it's much more than that. It is one of the places in this large university ecosystem where promising teams can take advantage of a wealth of resources and assets. This is one of the very few occasions where you will ever hear me say, I am hopeful that I will be the least interesting person that you listen to this evening. We have some incredible teams tonight. So one other thing that I would like to do is that this program runs based on the generosity of passionate people inside the organization as well as donors. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge Tom and Betsy Brady. Tom Brady is here tonight. He's a benefactor that's been gratefully helping out TechArb for a number of years. And as part of his introduction, I would like to thank Ryan Gorley, who is the director of TechArb, and what he has done in a short while to elevate this program to world class has been nothing short of miraculous and almost as much as we expected. So Ryan's done a great job. Everyone, please enjoy your evening. I turn over the dais to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And good evening, everyone. As Tom mentioned, I've had the privilege of being director of TechArb for just shy of a year now. In that time, I've had 2 cohorts, and I could not be more proud of the students that we've had. I have a lot that I want to say about them, a lot of bragging to do, and I want to tell you a bit about the program as well. But before we do that, I thought you might like to hear it from the students themselves.
I'm James Hewitt, the founder of LifeNote.
I'm Stacy.
I'm Greg.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Ellie.
I'm Brooke Hart.
Hi, I'm Leah Abrams.
I'm Andrew Mutfa.
I'm Caillou.
And we are Confluent Care.
My name is Robert Chesina, and I'm the founder of Michelangelo Robotics.
I'm Elliot, and this is WIT, and we're Small World.
I'm Brandon Hazelton, and my company is ElectriFit.
TechArb is a student incubator from the University of Michigan. It's a great place, a breeding ground of great people and great ideas to come together and really make cool things happen.
TechArb is a community that helps entrepreneurs grow.
TechArb is a great place to be surrounded by people that also have a like mind and just want to work on their projects.
We get to work together, we get to help each other solve problems, and just learn from each other.
We benefited from the structure. It gave us a lot of deadlines and meetings and things that really kept us moving despite our busy schedules.
It's a great place to get feedback and to hear a lot of new different voices.
Everyone is really willing to help each other.
That bonding experience really showed that we're all working very hard on a specific project, something that's important to us, but we also can communicate on a more basic level.
I think TechArb provides you that last little bit of motivation that you need to really get deliverables in, and then you get to meet people too who also want to help you in your endeavor.
The best part about working at TechArb is, I think, the community.
The community and the fact that you're surrounded by a lot of other people going through the same thing.
They support each other, and they really have found a community outside of just a normal student environment here. They really connect with each other on another level.
TechArb gives you really good resources. It challenges you. I think it can just be a really great experience for anyone.
All right. You can clap. That's a nice video. So beyond what you heard in the video, I wanted to spend a few moments talking about the program and the particular cohort that we're here to celebrate tonight. For those of you who are less familiar with the program, it is a rigorous, intensive challenging experience where we take a handful of students, some of the top student entrepreneurs from across the university, and they work together. They work on their individual ventures, and in that time, they also help one another launch and grow and build. Now, in order for these things to work as they're intended, for everything to play out as we plan, a large number of factors need to be in place, and their putting in place is wholly dependent on a large effort by a large number of people. There's not one singular key ingredient, nor is there one singular individual that can orchestrate the whole thing. Rather, it takes a collective of people who are able and more than willing to connect people and ideas and opportunities. The whole thing hinges on this intricate network of connectivity. Now, given that, I think that this class is particularly remarkable in that if there's one consistent theme, it is connection and connectivity. And we're talking deep and vital connections. Those that truly matter, those that make a difference. They are connecting people to life-sustaining and life-saving resources, be it food, money, healthcare, or even companionship, the human connection. And what's more, they're doing this for those who inarguably need it most, easing the burdens of the bereaved, of the isolated, of the impoverished, and of the sick. They are focused on serving these populations, elevating the standards of care, the standards of education, and the very standards of living. They are truly victors valiant, championing these various causes, and in many cases already demonstrating impact. But, of course, they would be the first to tell you they could not do it alone. Well, these conquering heroes may be leading the charge into battle. They are flanked by an army of supporters. Tonight is every bit as much about that community of supporters as it is our student entrepreneurs. This community includes folks near and far, all the people internal and external to the university who have devoted their time and energy and resources to take these teams where they are tonight. So tonight it is with deep pride that we celebrate our victors, with optimism for the future that we present our ventures, and with humble gratitude that we recognize our village. So thank you, our community, our village. So I'd now like to turn it over to our program assistant, Allison, who will be introducing our presenters. Allison?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I am Allison. I am the program assistant here at TechArb. First up, we have Elliot Brannon of Small World.
All right, before I begin, I want to ask everyone a question. Have you ever been part of a community that you haven't felt connected to? I certainly have. This is exactly the problem that Small World is trying to solve. I tried all of them. There we go. I'm Elliot, and I'm part of Small World. Small World strengthens communities by facilitating high-quality connections between community members. Connected communities are happier, more innovative, more inclusive, and more productive. So, you might ask how Small World works. We produced a video to sort of explain it, but because of technical difficulties, we won't be able to show you the video. But essentially, this diagram explains in very simple terms how Small World works. We take a list of community members, randomly pair the community members, send out the pairings through email. The pairs contact each other, figure out a time to meet. They can set up a meeting to go to lunch, go to coffee, take a walk. It's completely up to them. And then we repeat this process, randomly pairing new people in the community. We can repeat it every week, every 2 weeks. It's up to the community. And what the pairs do, what the pairs talk about, it's ultimately up to them, but that also can be guided by the community that they're in. To explain it in a little bit more detail, I'd like to tell you about a pilot that we launched in the medical school last year, where all of us on Small World are in the medical school. And it started in part because it's it was relatively difficult for me to make connections within medical school. Most students in medical school don't go to class anymore. They stream everything online these days, and so it was hard to connect to my fellow classmates. So I sent out an email explaining the idea, and within 2 weeks, 90 busy medical students signed up for this program, over half the class. Over our academic year last year, we sent out over 600 connections. We sent out new connections every 2 weeks. And 100% of people who participated in Small World and completed a survey said that they found value in the connections that they made through Small World. Again and again, through the same survey, people said that they found value in the connections because they were connected to people that they would not have otherwise met. The clicker's hard, guys. So while we were doing the pilot and over the summer, we delved into the research on community development and into the sociology and psychology of human interaction. And what we found is that when a community forms, individuals within the community tend to segregate themselves based on similarity like interest, race, gender, class, hierarchy. These are, we're all familiar with this idea, and it contributes to this idea that sociologists call homophily, where individuals, tend to naturally make friends easier with people who are similar to themselves. And what Small World does, what the most powerful aspect of Small World is that we disrupt homophily by randomly connecting individuals within a community. Maybe I should, here, okay, point it over here, guys. And so you might be asking, I've said community over and over and over, what do I mean by that? And I'll tell you right now that I really have no idea. Small World worked really well in the medical school. We sent out 600 connections. Everybody seemed to love it. It seemed successful to us. But we think that because this idea of homophily exists in most communities, in every community that I've been a part of, we think it will work in a lot of different communities. In academic communities, healthcare, conferences, faith communities, potentially virtual communities who are separated by a distance, and also student organizations. And so what we're in the process of doing is setting up pilots across the university, across Ann Arbor, across the nation. Our goal for this summer was to set up 5 pilots for this fall. We've already sent out 5 pilot applications and are talking to between 10 and 15 additional sites that are interested in using Small World. Some of these sites include the School of Information, where we're piloted in a professor's class. We're also talking to Munger. We think it would be useful in dorms here. We're piloting at the medical school, but also they want to use it for all new faculty at the medical school. We're also talking to a conference that's hosted by the CDC, and we ran a small pilot at a conference a couple weeks ago at Intermittent. We're also talking to Innovation in Action, and even TechArb. We might consider running a pilot within TechArb itself. So you might ask, what's the business model? How does that work? And I can go through this slide. We're considering, setting up a subscription model per user per month. There's actually one of our competitors that I'll discuss. It is currently charging $5 per user per month for a very, very similar service that we do. And also we think that it would be very useful for conferences, so that would obviously be a one-time fee, but we're also exploring additional features like smarter matching. And in our case, most matching algorithms match based on similarity. But we think a potentially smarter matching algorithm would match based on difference or dissonance, because those people that are different are not meeting. People who are similar are already meeting in communities. And so our smarter matching algorithm would look a lot different than other people's. We'll also offer connectivity analytics. And the reason why I'm going through this slide relatively quickly is because this isn't where we're focused right now. We're focused on our growth. Small World, every community that we've talked to is interested in using Small World. And we can scale very easily. And so that's what we're focused on now. And once we scale, this is important, and I think I'll probably get some criticism, and I'd welcome to talk to people about this. But right now, we're focused much more on growth than our business model. So here's several of our competitors. Actually, I would consider probably a couple of them more friends than competitors. Argo is another startup here at the University of Michigan. And Innovate Brew is a program here that I'm sure many of you heard about. It connects faculty members in a very similar way to Small World. But what none of our competitors do is focus on community. Small World is not a networking app. It's not a friendship app. It's not a peer mentoring app. These are things that we get asked about over and over. Can Small World be used for this? Can it be used for that? And I would argue no, that those all match based on either similarity or some other trait that we're not designed for. We match based on either randomness right now or potentially dissonance in the future. And of that, we're focused more on the community than on the individual development. So here's our team. I have a lot of community development experience. I've lived in a lot of different communities, ranging from Arkansas to Korea. I also spent a couple of years as a community development officer in the Peace Corps in Thailand. Rob Cesaro has 10 years financial experience. He worked in New York and also here at Arboretum Ventures. And then Whit is focused on sort of our user experience and also the financial aspects of Small World. So I'd encourage everyone to visit our website at highqualityconnections.com. That's a term that was coined here at Ross, and I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight.
Next up, we have Leah Abrams of Confluent Care.
All right. Good evening. We are Confluent Care, and we're here tonight to talk to you about the problems faced by community health workers and our technology that helps them do their job better. We believe that strong communities and personal relationships are essential for health. So community health workers are big-hearted people who work with vulnerable patients that are in difficult situations. And they don't do it for money, they do it to make a difference in these people's lives. They visit the patients in the home and help with everything from understanding their new diagnosis and their doctor recommendation to even finding food when money runs low at the end of the month. They spend up to an hour and a half with that patient. They get to know the family, they see everything in the home that's affecting health, and in a way, they're like liaisons between that patient and the healthcare system, helping connect them with the resources they need. But they're not the only people doing this work. A lot of different professionals do this kind of role, but don't call themselves community health workers. So when we refer to community health workers, we're going to talk about everyone who's doing this kind of home care. The ACA brought changes to the healthcare system, moving it from a fee-for-service to more of a value-based system. And in that system, community health is very important, and community health workers are considered the way of the future. But they're stuck using yesterday's tools. When we spoke with community health workers, we learned what's paying them today. And a lot of it is that they're wasting time and resources. So they're printing papers that get lost, they're playing phone tag and missing appointments. Another problem is that they can't keep up with their clients between appointments. So if they see that patient once a month, there's 30 days in between where they can't know what the progress is. And then they can't show their impact to their employer. So when their patient does have success, the healthcare system doesn't see it. So we're going to talk now about, there are 117 million people in the U.S. who have a chronic condition. And with the ACA, a growing number of those people are covered by Medicaid. When Medicaid patients go to the hospital over and over for the same condition, those readmissions cost the healthcare system $26 billion annually. When community health workers are doing their job well, they're keeping those patients out of the hospital, and that saves the health system money. So now we're going to take a look at our tool using these two personas, Tiffany and Sam, that we designed based on our customer discovery research. So Tiffany is a community health worker, and when she opens her app, she can see her homepage and her patient list, which she can sort in a variety of ways, and her patient here it's showing Sam. Then she can make appointments and send messages where she can attach the educational resources that they looked at together, and she can send behavioral reminders, which are like a task that will help Sam reach the goal that they decided on. And she can check the progress to see how he's doing in meeting that goal since they last met. On Sam's side, we have Sam, he's in his 60s and a diabetes patient, shown here with his granddaughter. Sam, when he opens the app, can also see his homepage, his appointments, and his messages, where he can open those educational resources that Tiffany sent, and he can see his behavioral reminders. So did he take his medications this morning? What was his blood sugar reading? And then he can see his progress. Has he been walking more in the evenings like he said he would? Has he been doing it more than he did it last month? Besides these basic features, we have some key features we'd like to highlight, and the first is predictive analytics. Predictive analytics can take all this data and triage the patients for the community health worker. So if there's a patient who stopped taking their medications, won't respond to messages, missed an appointment, they'll jump to the top of the community health workers list to show that that's someone who needs attention. And that can help the community health worker use their time wisely. Predictive analytics can also be used to find patterns in data. So we might learn that there are certain types of patients who benefit from certain types of care. And the community health worker can use that to really individualize what they're doing and prevent problems before they happen. Another key feature is gamification. Gamification is what keeps the client using the app. It gives them points and levels the more health behaviors that they log, and when they do reach a goal, it automatically shares it with their community health worker so they get that positive support, and they can even choose to share it with their social network. There are a lot of different companies that have proven out these features. MyFitnessPal works for behavior tracking, Outlook works for secure messaging and calendar, and there have even been companies that have given tools, technological tools to community health workers, but they've done it with very limited feature sets. Our competitive advantage is that we have a very comprehensive feature set, and it's specifically designed for the work that community health workers do and their relationships with their clients and their employers. And in that sense, our value proposition is multifaceted. So for the community health worker, they're able to provide better care, and they're also able to see more patients, so they're doing more for less. On the client side, they have more immediate access to their community health worker. So where they would have gone to the doctor or even the ER with a concern, they can now get an immediate response. And they have more motivation for the notoriously difficult task of behavior change. For the healthcare system, or the health plan, or the community organization that's employing these community health workers, they're getting all of this data about that patient population that uses so many of their resources. And they're getting data about the impact of the community health workers. And these are insights they've never had before. So our total addressable market is all community health workers and all of those care coordinators, social workers who are doing this kind of work. And that's 2 million people in the U.S. If you look at those that are only employed by health systems, which is our business plan for now, that's 600,000. We are making our obtainable market about 2% of that, which brings you to 12,000. And those are the people who we think we could obtain who are using the kinds of roles that would directly match our feature set. But as our feature set expands, so can our market penetration. And every time that we get a new customer, it's a health system. And we get the user base, that's all of the community health workers in that system and all of the clients they see. So our user base in that sense can grow very quickly. We're charging a monthly fee per community health worker that's using our app within the system. And with that 2% market penetration, that generates $22 million annually without the non-renewable engineering fees and any sort of fee we charge for advanced analytics. This summer in TechArb, we've made a lot of progress. We've done customer discovery, we've developed this business plan, and done front-end prototyping. And in the fall, our goal is to show that front-end to more Medicaid patients to get their feedback, to continue building partnerships with health systems to identify pilot sites, and then to do some back-end developing. And when that back-end developing is ready, we hope to pilot in the winter and spring. Our team is uniquely ready to take this to market with a really diverse skill set. We have a background in health behavior research, data analytics, healthcare IT, healthcare management, and user experience design. So far, community health workers have been overlooked by the tech sector, but they're the ones on the ground promoting health. And with the ACA, this is more important than ever. And so we ask that you support community health workers and invest in us. Thank you.
Next up, we have Kevin Lee of LifeNote.
You guys hear me? Awesome. Okay. Ready to start now. Hi, good evening. Thank you for making it out tonight. My name is Kevin. I'm one of the co-founders of LifeNote. Really simply, I just want to get this idea into your head right away. LifeNote is the estate planner of your digital asset portfolio. Just let that thought kind of simmer for a moment. I want to start with a story, and I know a lot of you are probably used to hearing stories, but this is actually something that happened to me yesterday. Went out to lunch with a friend, and something extraordinarily uninteresting happened, which was when we paid for the meal, I paid for the tab, which that's pretty normal actually, and my friend told me, hey, I'll Venmo you. At the time, I didn't think much about it. But this tiny incident is becoming extraordinarily commonplace. And what this is a testament to the convenience of digital payment services and to the future of an infrastructure built around digital currencies and, more importantly, digital assets. What are digital assets? These are anything from the Venmo balance that was given to me for the food, to airline miles that are accumulated, to the Starbucks app on your phone that you used to pay for your coffee this morning. If you think really closely about this, what happens to your PayPal balance if you, for some godforsaken reason, were to pass away? This is precisely the legal problem that LifeNote addresses. And this is what it looks like today. The estate closing process is not something that is easy. This is not an exaggeration of the actual process itself. The average American spends over 10 months trying to close a single estate. And within that, there are so many legal complications that occur with just the will itself that most individuals don't even think about the digital portfolios. 93% of Americans don't know what happens to their digital assets once they pass away. LifeNote provides a centralized, online, cloud-based service that simplifies this entire process for our users. Essentially, our smart algorithms will take in all of the accounts from a given user and totally automate that transfer process once a death is triggered. This is basically beneficial to three main parties. On the one hand, executors are now relieved of this 10-month process of having to go find each individual asset and then get a password, and then, oh no, the password was wrong, so now I need access to the email, and it's a mess. Secondly, idle accounts are very, very prone to ID theft, and moreover, the theft of the value in the account itself. And finally, these accounts themselves also hold substantial value. If your PayPal balance has $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in it, and you don't close it effectively, today the state would claim that. Instead, LifeNote will help you pass on this value to a loved one or to a charitable cause, user's choice. Our competitive advantage lies in the fact that we are using sophisticated, state-of-the-art algorithms in order to simplify this process. Instead of having to deal with the terms of agreement for PayPal, and then the terms of agreement for Venmo, and the terms of agreement for whatever other digital asset, we can automate that entire process in our cloud-based service. We aren't alone in this space, unfortunately. We do have competitors that are more expensive and don't actually provide the same service we do. One of our largest competitors is the way it's done right now, which is a piece of paper. It's free. Write down all of the accounts that you have, write down the value stored in there, and who you want to give them to. And when you pass away, you better hope that that piece of paper can be found. I'll leave the impracticality of that up to the audience's imagination. And the business model. We've played around with pricing structures, and so far this is what we've toyed with. It's a tiered model that will be based off of the number of accounts a user decides to transfer. 40, 50, 75. And on the other side, the executor will also, the account holder will also be charged an initial fee upon initial setup. if we are to even capture 5% of our entire serviceable market, that would still be over 8 million users, which, if scaled to our approximately $40 price per user, leaves the market capitalization of the initial Life Note fairly high. I wouldn't say no to about $320 million right now. And finally, Life Note today. We've been working with a team of very talented developers in the Philippines, and they've actually built out our minimal viable product that launched 4 days ago. They had some kind of problems with the actual launch itself, so that's getting worked out. But in the future, what we're planning on doing is we still need to design a few components of the algorithms that will transfer and make this process as easy as it can be, and thinking about some things about go-to-market strategy and some beta users, which leads me to the timeline. Once we're done with TechArb, we've been extremely fortunate to have this experience. We plan on refining the product a little bit before fully building out all of the functionalities and features that we intend the final form of the company to have. This is our management team. I am an undergraduate student here at the University of Michigan studying computer science and business administration. My partner, James Hewitt, who unfortunately could not be here tonight, is a rising senior who has a background in industrial engineering. And the two developers are based in the Philippines, so minimal English, which has been interesting, but it's been definitely a good experience to have. And with that, I want to say thank you again for coming out tonight. I'd love to hear your thoughts or any advice that you have for me over coffee or drinks. Just remember to Venmo me afterwards.
Next, we have Stacy Mallon of CART.
Okay, hello. My name is Stacy Matlin, and I am a recent graduate from the University of Michigan School of Public Health and co-founder of CART. So CART started because 4 graduate students came together really interested in the issue of lack of access to healthy food. We did a lot of interviews with people from nonprofit, academia, industry to really understand this issue. And we found transportation was a common pain. And this pain point really hit home when we met people like Leslie. This is Leslie. She's 24 years old and has 2 kids, unemployed, and doesn't have access to a vehicle. She struggles every day to navigate an unreliable bus system and really doesn't have access to healthy food that she would like to provide for her kids. And she's not the only one. She's one of 150,000 Detroiters who lack access and receive SNAP benefits. This isn't just a local problem, this is a national problem. 15 million Americans don't have access to a vehicle, live in low-income communities, and are a mile away from a supermarket or more. And this is a problem because this really inhibits the ability of people to access healthy food. And so why, you may ask? Well, the current solutions are pretty meek. Buses are unreliable. We've heard stories of people waiting up to an hour and a half to get a one-way ride to the store. Taxis are expensive. Also stories of people paying over $30 to get to and from the store that is only a couple miles away. And walking takes forever and limits the amount of groceries that you can carry. However, there are new revolutionary technologies, mobility solutions such as Uber and Lyft that are taking over the world. But unfortunately, they are not focusing on low-income populations and inadvertently leave these people behind. So that's where CART comes in. We work to decrease the digital divide so low-income individuals actually have access to these new technologies. We provide a web-based platform so low-income populations can actually book rides to and from well-stocked grocery stores. Grocery stores subsidize part of the ride, and they also pay our transaction fee. In return, grocery stores receive a new way to market to a really hard-to-reach customer base, and they can then be leaders in their community for helping increase access to healthy food.
So how does it work? So Leslie, she hears about CART from her pastor at church, and she downloads the app. After signing up, she receives a promo code that allows her to go to the store, her first ride to the store for free. She books that ride, goes to the store. She then, at the store, does her purchasing, and at checkout, purchases a gift card, which has a promo code that enables her to pay for her return ride home. She enters that promo code into the app and then can return home. This promo code also allows her to get back to the store. So rides to the store are free, and she pays for the return ride home. And this is important because Leslie doesn't feel comfortable putting in credit card information into online applications. So this idea came after a lot of interviews and focus groups and testing, including our Meijer pilot. We did a 1-month pilot with Meijer at their 8 Mile store in Detroit, and we learned a tremendous amount. We provided 46 rides to 21 different people and found that our service was cheaper, 500% cheaper than a taxi when subsidized by the grocery store. That's people paid $4.38 on average for a ride. Also, customers who used our service the second time around, they spent 373% more on groceries second time because they now have access to reliable transportation. Also, people liked our service and they referred us to their friends and family. And so we now know word of mouth is a way that we will get people in the future. Since then, we used those findings to progress and do different business competitions, including winning first place in Accelerate Michigan and finalists in the Michigan Business Competition. We also were able to connect to people nationwide and present at South by Southwest. So then, this enabled us to be ready for TechArb, where this summer we built a team, 7 people who were able to do incredible work, and we focused on customer discovery, where we conducted over 50 interviews with our end user, and we're able to really understand their needs so we can build the technology that was right for them. We were able to build a prototype that actually worked with 2 hackathons this summer, and in addition, we were able to connect to companies such as Uber and Lyft to help build out a solution for our next pilot with Meijer in the fall. So Meijer 2.0, pilot 2.0, we're doing it with 2 Detroit stores in 3 months, and we will be using technology and vigorous evaluation. And what makes this different from the last time? Well, this time we've been planting the seeds in marketing and technology. So marketing, we've been in the communities, not only interviewing people, but making connections to community organizations. So once we launch, we can actually reach people through word of mouth. In technology, we've been working on a mobile web app. So we now don't have to operate as a call center, and we can book a lot more rides a lot faster. And this, we believe, we will be able to reach many more customers than just 21 from our last pilot. We will also be vigorously evaluating this to ensure that this is really a great solution. We'll be tracking number of new customers, frequency of shopping trips, and purchase size to really ensure that this is a solution that can bring both social and economic value return for both Meijer and the customer. Looking ahead, so September, we're continuing to build out the technology and building a team. I need more people to help me build this out, so if you know anybody, let me know. Also, October, we plan on launching. November to December, we will be operating and vigorously evaluating, and then January to February, we will be doing follow-up interviews and focus groups to really understand what this pilot was about, and then hopefully use those findings to expand to other Meijer stores and to other grocery stores in the Detroit area. So I want to give a special thanks to a few key people. One, the Center for Social Impact. They provided me funds so I can work on this full-time after graduation. TechArb for providing the space and community to really build this out. And these 7 wonderful individuals for helping me build a solution for Leslie. So she now has access to healthy and affordable food. Thank you.
And last but currently not least, Walker McHugh of Prediction Bio.
Oh, it's a lot of pressure. Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks for being here tonight. I know it means a lot to certainly me, but I'm sure all the other students as well that you guys gave your time up tonight to come listen to us talk. So my name is Walker McHugh. I'm one of the co-founders of Prediction Bio. Prediction Bio is a precision medicine company looking to fundamentally change how we care for the sickest patients in intensive care units. I guess I should stay over here. So each year in the United States, there's over 5 million ICU admissions. These admissions count for over half of our nation's inpatient hospital charges. And what's more, 80% of these admissions are ultimately driven by an out-of-control immune response. So when you come into the ICU, let's say in shock, pending organ failure, what we do to you, the gold standard, is essentially unchanged in 30 years. We give you fluids, drugs to support your blood pressure, and an antibiotic if we think you have an infection. This is a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's purely reactive, and it fundamentally ignores the underlying biology that drives many critical illnesses. So how do we get here? Well, it's certainly not for lack of trying. So I think it's actually a little easier to explain or to show you than to explain it, but essentially I think we asked the wrong questions. So in the past, if you were to develop a new therapeutic and trial this in the ICU, what would you do? You'd give it to everyone. You'd think it was a golden bullet and it was going to save everyone's life. So you'd give this broadly across the entire ICU. The problem with this approach, however, is that not everyone needs your golden bullet. So the reality is only 25 to 30% of patients in the ICU ultimately die. So there's really only a potential to have an impact in these small, high-risk cohort of patients. So the result is that if you give this drug to everyone, while in high-risk patients, you can actually save life and show benefit in the patient. In low-risk patient, a patient that was going to survive otherwise, just the mathematical probability is that you've probably caused harm to the patient. And so across the entire clinical trial, there's really no net benefit. And so this has been showed in numerous clinical trials. And so basically, as you increase risk of death, you're just mathematically more likely to see a benefit in any sort of therapeutic that you're looking at. And in low-risk patients, by doing something they don't necessarily need, you're more likely to cause harm. And so this is an idea that's called prognostics. So that's one piece of what prediction is looking to do. How are we going to do this? Well, this is Microkine. It's our patent-pending diagnostic platform, which allows us in just 30 minutes to measure and quantify your immune response from a single drop of blood. So this time difference is over 10 times faster than any existing technology platform. And in the ICU, that's really a matter of life and death for our patients. So how might this work? So now that when you come into the ICU, shock, pending organ failure, using Microkine, we can actually identify which patients are most likely to benefit from any therapy. So we're now able to take the high-risk patients and then profile their biology and actually understand which component of their immune response is out of control, and then drugs that are already FDA approved that we can use to actually reverse this process. So it's fairly intuitive, I think. So we basically identify patients that are at high risk, and then in these high-risk patients, which specific component of their biology is likely to work. This is essentially what we've done for cancers now for 30, 40 years is what we're looking to do for the ICU. So how sick are you? What's the stage of your cancer? And then what's the biology that's driving that illness? And more importantly, which drugs can we use to intervene and reverse that process? Prediction is looking to operate as a fairly standard razor blade business model. So we're initially focused on patients with severe infection. This is a smaller cohort. It makes up about 20% of all ICU patients. We're looking at initial pricing around $500 per cartridge, an initial risk stratification, and then additional therapeutic monitoring. So not just which drug do you need, but how long do you need that drug? Do you need a different drug as you progress in the ICU? So just back of a napkin, this becomes a $1.5 billion market. I think one of the more kind of interesting things think about as kind of our healthcare system starts to change is not just what's the value that I can capture, but what's the value that we're creating for our patients. And so how we've gone about thinking about this is in these low-risk patients, by being able to identify them rapidly, we're preventing them being exposed to unnecessary and also very costly treatments. in the ICU. And then the flip side of that, in high-risk patients, if we're able to make some of these therapies successful, we estimate, looking at the literature, that we could see as much of a 1-day length of stay decrease. And when you're in an ICU, a single day can cost as much as $5,000 to $10,000. So a single length of stay has significant cost benefits for healthcare systems. This is my team. I'm up here alone today, but I certainly didn't get here alone. I'm a biomedical engineering graduate student. Tim Cornell is a pediatric intensivist at Mott Children's Hospital. This technology is actually a technology that we've collaborated with extensively with a group of mechanical engineers here at the University of Michigan, and the technology obviously wouldn't be possible without all of their help over the years. One of our other co-founders, Caroline, who's currently in San Francisco, has a tremendous amount of go-to-market strategy in therapeutics and medical devices. So I was asked to say a little bit about our TechArb experience. So Ryan was pretty humble at the beginning, saying there's no real single person. But he's really what I would call a force multiplier. So here at the university, there's some real champions, I think, for the students like us, that what we're trying to do. And Ryan is certainly at the top of that list of those folks. He really drives us to ask more of ourselves and more of others. So you heard a lot of people, I think, say what the community likes at TechArb, and I think that's really a testament to the standards that Ryan sets for us all. And then last but not least, my lovely wife and daughter, who allow me to do this crazy sorts of things and travel. So I thank them for all their love and support. So thanks.
Thank you all so much. I'd next like to introduce each of the members of the graduating class. TechArb requires a serious commitment on the part of the students, and tonight we'd like to recognize and commend each of the teams for that commitment. So teams, if you could please come up when I call your name and file behind the stage here for a group photo all together.
We'll make it cheesy. All right. So you're going to shake my hand. If you want to hand these to me, then
yeah.
We'll shake over here.
Okay. Right. So up first is Cart. Confluent Care. Electrofit. Life Note. Prediction Bio. And Small World.
And unfortunately, unable to join us tonight was Robert Chisena from Michelangelo Robotics, but we have his gift here as well. So before we break to live demos, we need to present this class's MVP award. And to help me do that, I'd like to invite Tom Brady to the stage. He'd like to share a few words with us.
You know, I suppose the most obvious question is, why do Betsy and I support this? And by the way, we support this at two other institutions. Of course, this is my alma mater, but I have another alma mater, and also at the University of Toledo, where I live. The reason is that I'm convinced that if you asked what's the one advantage that we have here in this country, it's innovation and entrepreneurship. And we need to figure out how to leverage that advantage as we go forward. And this is certainly one of the ways to do it. I mean, our universities are full of bright, able, committed kinds of people. And when I look at what happens at the University of Michigan, this is a good example. And it's not just about starting a company. If I look at my own experience, I started my company 30 years ago now, but we now have 5 operating companies. And those other 4 companies were all the brainchildren of other people that came and worked in my company. So it's not just about starting companies, it's about the entrepreneurial and innovative mindset for everybody as we move forward as a nation. So this is always exciting for me. I'm sorry Betsy couldn't be here. Frankly, she's working tonight. She's the chief financial officer at our company. So I congratulate you all. And by the way, the presentations were marvelous. No notes. And I noticed that because growing up as an engineer, one of the things that I'm aware of is that the engineering mindset isn't necessarily as expansive as, I would say, the liberal arts mindset in terms of communication and so forth. So I'm terribly impressed with all that I see here. So do we want to give them a...
Yeah, we'll give an intro, and I will keep my notes. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Stay there. Yes. So really, the supreme generosity of the Brady family has made possible this award, as well as the milestone awards that each team will receive. On behalf of the students in our program, thank you so much for your continued support. You make nights like tonight possible, for which we are all grateful. The MVP award goes to the team that most embodies the spirit and work ethic of TechArb as voted by the class. For whatever it's worth, I'd like to mention on behalf of the program that we heartily endorse who the class has selected, that we agree that this recipient is wholly deserving of this honor. This is a team that consistently went above and beyond the call of duty. It was never enough for them to merely do what was required of them. I think what was most remarkable about this is that they entered TechArb as a team of one, and by the end of their time here, they built a village, a community of people around them who were excited by their mission, engaged in their work, and ready to hit the ground running and help out. With that, tonight's recipient truly embodies what we mean when we say it takes a village and it takes a victor to build that village. With no further ado, I present this class's MVP, Stacy Matlin of CART.